Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's project is very strange, quirky, and fun. Look at this guy. Here, let me bring this camera closer. Don't be afraid. Look at this. Look at this dude. He is a strange and fun spoon. I was going to call him a troll, but I don't know that he's a troll. He's sort of just a content little man. So we're whittling a man in the spoon. And that's it. That's today's project. We're going to do this from start to finish. Believe it or not, we did this in a 1x1. Just a 1x1x6. So you can get these on eBay. I linked it in the description. But without further ado, this project is brought to you by Fundamentals of Wood Carving. It's an online school that I started years ago, which helps folks learn about carving, primarily the realistic face, but all sorts of projects, relief scenes. Here's one that I just finished for the school. Pretty fun, right? So there's all kinds of stuff. Faces. I even did a full figure recently. There's a lot to learn there. So check that out in the link below. Again, beginner, intermediate, advanced. All sorts of carvers are welcome, and there are projects of all levels. So let's get into the project. This little spoon. All right, now to start this project, I'm going to go through the materials needed. I've got a 1x1x6 piece of basswood here. And basswood is good for this because it's soft, it takes well to the knife, and it also is food safe. The only downside to using basswood is that it isn't quite as durable as maybe, say, maple or birch, which are other great options for this if you have them and you're willing to put up with a little extra pushback. The other material or tools that I'm using are a spoon gouge or a hook knife. Actually considered a hook knife. I've got an inch, I believe this is 1.5 inches. This is considered, I believe, the detail knife from Flexcut, but really any 1.5 inch blade. Although this is a really nice one. This is from their Pro Series. Got a ruler, got a pencil, and a strop. Always good to have a strop nearby. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I've gotten pretty close to the edge here. I don't think I'm going to go too much further. Maybe just a little, just a smidge more material come down here. Now, a lot of carvers will use a Sloyd knife, which is a longer blade than this one. But this works fine. Whatever suits you, whatever you like best. All right. Now I'm going to come to the back side of this spoon, and I'm going to carve this corner down. And I want to be very careful to keep my hands out of the path of the blade. So if the blade exits the wood, I want to make sure that the destination is not my hand. And it sounds obvious, but man, that is the most common way that people cut themselves. So I'm just taking this corner down. I want this to be kind of rounded at the bottom here, where the bowl will be of the spoon. Okay, nice. Now I want to take the corners of this end off. Now, once again, this part's going to be the face, this part's going to be the bowl of the spoon. So I'm going to take these corners down. Just like so. Beautiful. All right, and I can take these edges as well. Kind of round this bad boy by taking these planes, splitting them in half. That's the easiest way for me to make a round shape, is to stick with planes and to continue to cut those planes down. So in other words, divide it up into 3 planes. We've got 1, 2, 3, and then cut that corner edge. So now what do we have? 5 planes? Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes. And then we can cut them down again, and so on and so forth. So we're taking these corners down, and that's what's giving us that nice round, that nice round form. All right, good stuff. Now we're going to go 2 inches from this top part here, and we're going to mark just using my knife here because I have it, but a pencil would work nicely. Like a little marking there, the 2 inches area. And I'm going to start to taper this bowl. I'm actually going to taper to that 2-inch point. So I'll remark it, I'll remake that cut. And this is just a general kind of guideline. It doesn't have to be exactly 2 inches. I'm going to make that cut on the other side of the spoon. And then come down to that. And it is good when you're carving to take small chunks at a time. Try not to remove too much material, because when you carve, try and remove too much material too quickly, you end up losing control of the blade and potentially hurting yourself. Alright, so now I'm going to start to just kind of taper from this block, this 1.5-inch section, to this 2-inch section. Bringing the handle down. Okay. I'm going to narrow this down a bit more. Taking this down. And another good thing to do is to add a center line. A center line is going to really help you to keep things symmetrical. And we can go off of this corner here, kind of gives us a nice center line. Something like that. Going in, narrowing this handle area, one on either side. Little chunks. The cut that I'm doing here is I'm using the thumb of my holding hand to help drive and push the blade through away from my body. Good stuff. Narrowing this down. Okay, very nice. Okay, I'm going to take this corner down. Now we're turning this spoon on its side. We want to bring this edge, this corner here, down. So I'm going to turn it on its back now, and I'm going to cut this edge, this corner, down. See what we're doing there? We're tapering that spoon bowl. Just like that. All right. Actually going to take this down as well. Show it with my pencil. So we tapered this side a bit, and we'll taper it a little more in just a while. But I also want to take the bowl from this side, bring it down, and then this handle, like so. So we're going to remove all of this. So coming in, turning the spoon once again on its back, and reducing the handle area, kind of creating this rounded shape in the back of the spoon. Just like so. Okay, Looking pretty good, getting that bowl shape. Take the corners down off of this as well. There you go. And you can look at these big planes that you've created from cutting and kind of make sure they match from left to right. It's going to give you some nice symmetry. Alright, to be honest guys, I had to move this in the shop because, man, my allergies were raging out there. All the cottonwood's flown around. So, anyway, we're back and we're alive. Alright, I'm going to just continue to take these corners down and round this spoon shape. Sort of start to narrow where the spoon itself blends into this handle. Okay, so that's pretty good. Bring this down a little bit, this whole surface. Besides, that center mark was really to help us with our handle. Okay, good stuff. Alright, now this back side, let's deal with that. Now, I want to have this be something that's kind of smaller than the spoon itself, so than the bowl itself. So I'm going to start to taper this down a little bit more aggressively. Make this a little smaller from the sides. Some scooping. Bringing this block a little shorter. All right. I'll take the corners off of this block from the front face as well. The front facing perspective, but I'm taking them off the side is what I mean to say. All right, now again, the main thing is I want the spoon bowl to be a little bigger. So I'm going to narrow this face up a bit by taking the sides down. Turning it on its left and right side, just taking those corners down. Like so, and you can get as fancy as you want with this. Doesn't necessarily have to be really realistic. In fact, kind of simplifying it a little will be kind of nice. I'm going to take a little more out of the back of this head area. I think I'll actually take a few moments to polish this blade, and I'll just do it on camera because it's always good to remind folks to polish. So I'm going to take that blade, I'm going to drag it flat across my leather strap, just the blade's flat across. There's a little controversy around the micro bevel situation, but you can drag it across, and then you can do a couple of quick drags with a little bit higher of an angle. So if we got an angle here, you can see, boop, just a little bit taller of an angle. You could do 1, 2, 3. You could do a couple of drags at a higher angle. It might increase the durability of your cutting edge. Again, a little controversial, but it does tend to help. That's a little, well, that's better. All right, just bringing these corners down. Look at that, looking pretty nice. All right. Taking the edges off here again. Okay, you could almost do a cute little owl in this. It'd be a fun project for another day, huh? Take the corners off of this guy. We can make them a little asymmetrical, so we can do like a negative shape here. Maybe more of a flat or a curved shape by coming in with a scooping cut, meaning we're driving the blade into the wood, and then we're just slowly kind of turning it. So we're not going deeply into the wood, just taking a little bit of material, but creating this little negative shape. And then on this side, we'll create a positive shape. In other words, kind of rounded. And this way we kind of get more natural shapes. I'm going to go ahead on the brow ridge area here, come in Not too far from the top, probably, oh, I don't know, about 5 centimeters, or what is that? Excuse me, bumping my camera. Sorry, I said 5 centimeters, but actually a little less than that. Maybe like a little more than that, rather. Maybe like 7 or 8 centimeters, and about quarter of an inch or so from the top of this piece of wood. Make a little V cut. Okay. I'm going to take this top area back a bit here, like so. Okay, we're doing kind of a caricature of a face, almost kind of a troll type thing, maybe, without maybe as much hair. So I'm going to do a big long nose. I'm going to come down about a quarter inch, or about 6 millimeters from that again, and make another V cut, like so. Beautiful. I'm going to extend this top cut over, angling it downward a bit. Okay, just like that. Now, intentionally, I'm going to keep this very, very simple, this face that we're doing here, kind of like stylized, but you could really take this a lot further. Okay, so then I'm going to come into the edges or the bottom of this nose area and cut those corners. And I say it a lot, but it's true in carving. It's one of the few places where it's a good thing to cut corners. All right, so we've got that. Got these planes established. That forehead plane established. Good. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right, so then I'm going to come in under this mouth area. I'm going to bring this down. And you could caricaturize this as much as you wanted. In other words, you could leave things thicker or taller or bigger than normal, or characterize it. All right, so I'm going to go for his mouth now, do a really simple mouth. And I'm coming about, 1/8 of an inch, or about, say, 3 or 4 millimeters from where this nose line is down. And I'm creating a V cut. So I'm going in at an angle like so. Notice the angle that I'm cutting at. And then I'll meet that angle, the opposite but equal angle. So in like so, top here, meeting that, and then a little chip comes out. And that gives us a mouth. How about that? Well, it doesn't give us our mouth yet, but it will. So we go in like that. And then we expand this out, these corners. Expand these corners. Like so. And then we'll go underneath the lip and create his little chin. With another V cut, like so, equal but opposite angles, coming underneath that chin. Okay. And you can see how things are starting to shape up here. And we could give him a smile by taking the corners of the mouth, pulling him up. We know the risorius muscle pulls that lip corner up, and the zygomaticus pulls it out. And we get that big goofy grin. Of course, this is a caricature. This is not realistic, but we can take the corners of the mouth, make a stop cut along the edge, and then a little V cut of material removed there. And that kind of creates this look of a smile. And the same thing over here. This is called the nasolabial fold, also referred to as the smile line, which I like to go with that. And then I can make a little line indicating the end of the nose. and then another little triangle cut, like so, and that gives us that nasolabial fold. We'll do it over here again, I'll show you. So I'm angling first, stop cut along the side of the nose. Okay, and then I'm extending this little cut that we just made, angle like so, cutting in, and then equal but opposite angle coming to meet that one that we just did, and that gets a little chunk out, gives us that nice line. And it'll take some practice to get that down, but the important thing is that you just take your time with it, and that you're patient and nice to yourself as you learn. This is just one way of doing it, by the way. This is by no means am I saying this is like the only way to set up for a face. And this is not always the way that I set up for a face. It's just one way to set up for a face. Okay. Cool. So we've got that guy kind of blocked in. And now we could go in like crazy and detail these eyes. Or we could just kind of leave him simplified, almost like he's closed, by coming in with a curve, creating a line that curves upward with a knife, kind of angling down. Whoa, there goes my strap. And just like that, see that line? Kind of makes him look like he's smiling, or maybe his eyes are closed. But you don't know if that's because he's happy or what. Okay, so we're kind of angling this line in. And then I'm creating a little V-cut to remove it. So creating a little channel. If you had a V-tool, that would really make this a lot easier too. Just try and simplify the tools if possible. So we've got a little face in there. And I'll make a little scoop cut out in the inside corner. Go back over that line, the inside edge, just like that. Take a little out of the corner of the eye area, the brow ridge area, like so. A little bit more on this side. And just like that, we've got this kind of fun, simple dude. And we could go crazy with him and make him a lot more detailed, but this is just kind of a fun way of spicing up or making your spoon a little more interesting. I'm going to take the corners down of the sides of the cheeks here. Right beneath the cheeks is kind of like what we consider the middle cheek area, kind of around the mouth, just above the mouth area is where that cut starts. Kind of at the nose, giving him cheekbones. See that? Little scoop down. And gosh, if you ask me why we put a dent in his head, well, it's just a fun, silly interpretation of a face. It doesn't have to be accurate, so we just made him look a little weird, a little squappity. I'm going to round the back of his head so that it's ergonomic. Take the planes out of the back of his head. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to take a step back from working on this head. Oh, I forgot, I'll take this very final flat plane up top. We started to do it. Take this saw mark off. Good. You can kind of round it a bit more if you want. Take a little bit out of the back of the head. Okay, how about that? Moving over to the spoon. This is the useful part of the situation here. It makes it unique from our other carvings. I'm going to kind of draw a little circle on the inside of this area, just kind of indicating what I want to be carved out. And I want to try to keep the thickness fairly similar all the way around as I go with this piece. And you can kind of use your finger as a depth gauge if you want. And we might be able to go, we'll probably go a little thinner than these borders, but we're drawing them a little thicker to start because we want to have, be on the safe side, in other words. So I'm going to come in with my spoon gouge, and I'm going to start by going towards the center of the spoon from the edges. And this is not the sharpest gouge. I might need to take a few moments to get this a little sharper. Yeah, for sure. I can see the edge. Let's do that. All right, that's better. Coming in with that. You can go in the other direction. You can turn it this way and do a real tight cut. Moving a little bit at a time, really taking our time here. Little short cuts here. I guess in carving, shortcuts are a good thing too, in some instances. Ha ha ha. My goodness, I'm not even a dad yet. So I'm just coming in with this hook gouge, or the hook knife rather. Making up new tool names. Coming in, like so. Working this bad boy down within those lines. Okay. Trying to establish a relationship between my left and right hand to provide extra control here. It's important to do so. Carving that bowl out. Beauty. Beautiful. Alright, good stuff. Alright, now I'm going to be fairly content with that. I'm going to go along the back, kind of round this back area. Going in, rounding that back side of the spoon. Take these corners down. And again, helps to keep things symmetrical from left to right. By no means am I a spoon carver, so you pro Sloyd people are probably watching this and cringing, but you're still getting the ideas of the shapes and some of the ideas for tools and proper control of the blade. And gosh, it's also about having fun. Finding your own way. And absolutely wearing that dang glove, right? Wear a glove. Alright. And guys, we're getting pretty close. Pretty close. I'm going to go a little deeper with that bowl. A little deeper. Get this. Focus a little bit closer up. And maybe I can just take a look at the profile, make sure we're where we want to be as far as the silhouette. Make sure it's kind of nice and round. Fix any areas that need to be fixed. Yeah, looking pretty good. And we can thin this handle just a little bit more. Yeah. Take this back down just a little bit more. Good stuff. Man, a spoon is a great thing to learn knife handling and to learn the way that wood behaves. And if you're really struggling with this project, you might want to watch a simple video on grain direction. I made one a while back, but there are plenty of others online that are really good, just describing how wood grain works. But the easy way to do it is to just note that if you bring the wood through the material, bring the knife through the wood, and it doesn't want to go, try turning it around and going the opposite direction. That's kind of the big thing to keep in mind when you're carving, without explaining all about wood grain. That's the simplest way to put it. Okay, I'm going to taper this just a little bit more. Go in a little deeper and get a little fancier, thinning out that bowl a bit if you wanted to as well. You could really, since it's such a small carving, you could really kind of blend that edge into kind of less of a defined edge. And what I mean by such a small carving is it's the kind of spoon where you're not going to get a real deep bowl, So you can kind of round the edge. Or at least that's just kind of my preference for it. Not that there's a rule about that. Some of you spoon carvers out there will set me straight. Okay, so we're just coming in, establishing this little bowl, cleaning it out. It'll take a little while to get there, and you can, if you can, try to leave the material hand tool. It's going to end up just making a less hairy spoon when you go to wash it or when you go to use it. Unless you're not using it, in which case, by all means, sand the crap out of this and enjoy it. I'm just taking these sharp edges down along the outside edge of the spoon, so it's a little more comfortable in the hand. It just looks a little nicer. And narrow this part here. Take a nice angle out of the inside corner. Beautiful. Very nice. Very, very nice. And just like that, we've got a little spoon. It would be useful for a number of things. It would be good for stirring. You could use it as a little teaspoon. You could measure out a proper teaspoon and see if you can get this to the right size for that purpose. Deepen the bowl, etc. Or just gauge it properly. There's a whole lot you could do with this little guy. It's almost like a baby food size spoon too. But all it takes is a little 1x1 piece of basswood, and you really get a lot out of just a small piece of basswood. But it's quirky, it's fun. Man, it's a little bigger, this head is, than I originally planned, but you get the idea, folks. Oh, this is so silly. I'm going to just clean this bowl out, take a little bit more out of it, a little more capacity. Looks a little thick to me. Make it a little more delicate since we have the right tool for it. And this tool, this is by Beaver Craft, and it's a pretty decent setup. You can get it, I think, I don't know, for 15 or 20 bucks, maybe less than that or more than that. I can't remember. I don't think it's more than 20 bucks for this knife, but you know, so it's not super expensive. Just coming in, hollowing that out a little bit more, making it a little bit more of a spoon. Yeah, and again, it definitely could use to be sharpened a bit. You need to take the time to do that properly, but it's doing its job all right. And like I said, if this is decorative, which mine's just going to be decorative, I'm not going to be using this, so I'll sand it. But you're really not supposed to traditionally sand these, especially if you have any intention of using it. So keep that in mind as well. If you're going to use this bad boy, do not do this next step. Well, you can, and I've sanded spoons that I've used before, and it works out okay, but they just get a little fuzzy. Get a little fuzzy. Knife finish is always better, but I can take some 220 grit and just kind of work it on the inside of the bowl. I might just leave the rest unsanded though. I kind of like the idea of leaving these facets in and just kind of sanding the bowl itself. Beautiful. All right, guys, thanks for watching. It's a long one. It's a long video, but how fun is that? Oh, it's so silly. It's a very silly project. But go stir your coffee with it. All right, see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed. Take your vitamins, and if you want to learn more about carving realistic faces in wood, check out my online school in the description below. Makes for a good Father's Day gift. The school does, because there's beginner, intermediate, and advanced content on carving all manner of things, from wildlife relief to many human face project, mostly focusing on the human face. But anyway, guys, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.